I need y'all to get your water, get your popcorn, get your soda, whatever. Support the brother over here, man. It's crazy, bro. Let's check it out. Subscribe! 100 people versus a gorilla, the honest truth. You know, I've been wanting to watch a video like this.
So recent.
Because I have been seeing an argument where people are saying, can 100 men take a gorilla? My take is nah. I think the gorilla would demolish 100 men, for sure. I think so. But some people are like, it's 100 men though. Like, the 100 men, they should be able to take the gorilla. Like, some might die, yes, but they should be able to prevail. Me, I'm saying nah. That gorilla gonna kill every last one of them. But let's see what this video's saying though. But what do y'all think, man? Y'all think 100 men can take a gorilla?
Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no.
No such shit though. You know
All
what
of
I'm saying?
social media has been blowing up with the debate of one gorilla versus 100 humans. The funny thing is that everyone seems completely divided onto who would win the fight. One side thinks that the gorilla would pull a Winston and just completely thrash the army of humans with ease, while the other side believes that the sheer numbers would let the humans just beat up the gorilla like it's Naruto. But who is actually correct? Is a gorilla versus 100 people actually a fair fight, or is it actually a stomp? Does the gorilla win, or do the humans? Let's find out. If you like this kind of stuff, make sure to like, subscribe, and let's jump right in. Now, to begin, I think it's important to establish both sides of this fight. For the gorilla, we are assuming that this is essentially the strongest gorilla possible. Of the 4 gorilla species, easily the largest and strongest would be a silverback eastern lowland gorilla. At the absolute largest, gorillas can stand at over 6 feet tall and weigh between 400 and 500 pounds, with the largest ever being about 600 pounds or even beyond. However, this fails to capture how a gorilla's overall proportions drastically exceed that of a normal human, with a wingspan of over 8 feet, drastically more muscle mass, and far less body fat. In comparison to the peak gorilla, the group of humans will be made up of 100 average people. There will be no boxers, nor MMA fighters or athletes, and instead it will just be 100 totally normal people with totally normal physical stats.
Yeah, they're dying.
Wow, man. Damn.
Being an equal number of men and women. Now, technically, average height and weight varies somewhat drastically across the planet, so for this video, we'll be taking the stats from just Americans when possible. This means the 50 men in the group will be on average 5'9" and almost 200 pounds, while the 50 women in the group will be on average 5'4" and 170 pounds. Now, to be fair, Americans are kinda fat, so ultimately, using the statistics of a healthier nation doesn't change these values very much, or the outcome in my opinion. Still, either way, the gorilla is going to be far larger than any single human, exceeding them in height by a couple inches and being casually twice the weight of the average man. Also, just so we're all on the same page, this is what 100 people looks like. It's definitely not a small group, but it's also not a massive crowd by any means.
Yeah, the gorilla is tearing them apart, bro. Tearing them apart.
College lectures have more people than this in them. With that being understood, who wins this? Determining the true strength of a gorilla is incredibly difficult for multiple reasons. Firstly, gorillas ultimately are not a predatory species, so in comparison to something like a bear, a wolf, or any of the big cats, they rarely, if ever, go out of their way to attack humans. Secondly, unlike for humans that will willingly do experiments to test the limits of human strength, doing the exact same thing is almost impossible for gorillas because they're not just going to do a bench press for a couple of bananas, unfortunately. This forces most, if any, estimations of gorilla strength to be just that, estimations based off of their bodies and the very rare instances of strength that we have seen from them. Thirdly, there is a lot of hearsay and misinformation regarding gorillas, with most online sources claiming completely different stats for what gorillas are actually capable of. Finally, a lot of info about gorillas that does exist is oftentimes really old. The biggest issue though is that inconsistent information. For example, one website
See how smooth my guy just slid through that?
says they can lift 1,800 pounds, while another claims they can lift more than twice that at 4,000 pounds. Things get even more wild when these resources put it in terms of humans. Some claim that a gorilla is 8 times stronger than an average man. Another claims that they are 4 to 10 times stronger than a human. Another source claims 12 times, with another claiming that gorillas are a whopping 20 times stronger than a human. Clearly, the only consistent thing agreed on here is that gorillas are stronger than humans, but this much variation in number between sources is enough to say that these numbers are completely made up or very unsubstantiated. So let's look to what actual researchers have said about gorillas, or what we have actually seen them do in real life. Consistently, gorillas have been seen uprooting thin banana trees, shattering protective glass, and have broken human arms in brief attacks. Smaller and weaker primates like chimpanzees have shown feats of strength 2 to 3 times stronger than that of normal human, around 800 to 1200 pounds. Given that chimps are less than a quarter of the weight of a gorilla, suddenly the 4,000 pound claims look slightly more valid and would approximately make them 8 to 10 times stronger than a human being lifting wise, though strength and weight don't exactly work like that in a 1-to-1 ratio, clearly. Looking back to older information, the statements get harder to verify, but
Bro, older movies are so ass. Like, what the hell is this? Older, like people back then was easily entertained, man. Like, this shit ass.
also be potentially
Like, you believe this is an actual gorilla?
legitimate, as these were real interactions in the wild. We have accounts from 19th century explorer Paul Chalu recounting gorillas snapping and bending metal guns with their bare hands, or even an older account from explorer Andrew Patel that recounts that 10 people were unable to pin a gorilla down. Finally, we have more speculative calculations around things like gorilla bite force and punching strength, which is incredibly difficult to calculate without, having the gorilla punch something that actually measures the force. Still, even the most lowball calculations put the gorilla's strength at around 881 joules of force, with the highest being 3,660 joules of force. In comparison, humans output only about 74 joules with their punches, which would make the potential difference in punch power anywhere from around 10 to 50 times.
Oh my God!
I don't think really speed is something we really need to talk about here. It isn't like other power scaling topics where either side is a blitz difference faster than the other or anything like that. Gorillas and humans are simply comparable in overall speed, with the gorilla being a bit faster in bursts of muscular power, though such speeds aren't exactly sustainable. So overall, gorillas are stronger, larger, heavier, and more powerful than multiple humans combined. Either way though, are the humans cooked? Let's get into it. Now, in a 1v1, 2v1, or even 10v1, I think the gorilla could pretty easily take it. From everything we've seen, from historical accounts to estimations, a gorilla may legitimately be around 10 times the strength of average humans, making all of these random articles potentially correct even if they were just yapping. Single strikes and bites from a gorilla is going to be breaking bones of whoever is unlucky enough to be in range. As they tend to do, they can also easily grab, lift, and pull around any human they manage to grab. Furthermore, most attacks from a human are simply not going to legitimately harm a gorilla. The difference in the basic lifting and punching power being
Bro, that y'all ain't realize the average human has never taken a punch before or even thrown a punch like that. The average human does not go to the gym. The average human does not work out like that or is that athletic. They gonna get demolished. You know what I'm saying? They gonna get demolished.
meant that the person punching the gorilla would probably hurt their hands more than the gorilla's body. But as the number of
their skin is tough as shit.
And that's a fact.
increases towards 100, things get worse and worse for the gorilla for multiple reasons. Firstly, fatigue. Gorillas are not used to, nor are they really built for long, drawn-out fights. Most conflicts between gorillas only last a couple minutes at most, which is actually true for most humans as well. But while the gorilla might tear through 20, 30, 40 people, boom, there are still 60 humans the gorilla has to beat in order to win. Secondly, in this fight, strategy and coordination genuinely matter. For this fight to even happen, we kind of need to ignore the concept of fear for both sides. If a gorilla saw a group of 100 humans, they are very likely not going to attack and just run away. On the other side, if most people saw a gorilla beating up a dude, they're not going to jump in and help out. They're also running away. But that being said, if both sides legitimately want to beat the other with full conviction and no other options, 100 people can pretty quickly coordinate to absolutely bum rush on the gorilla, who simply would not be able to attack every person at once, even 20 people at once. Which brings up the third thing, weight. For as strong as a gorilla is, especially a potentially tired gorilla is simply not strong enough to hold off the weight of a coordinated group of humans. At the mid-end estimation of 1,800 pounds, even just 20 200-pound humans would be able to pin down a gorilla, with the only claim to the contrary being from a guy born in the 1500s. Would people get hurt and probably be killed in this effort to pin him down? But again, there are 50 dudes all prepared to do this, let alone the 50 women. But pinning isn't enough. The gorilla would need to be defeated, and even without tools, humans should be able to actually hurt gorillas. While human punches are far weaker than the apes, human kicks are overall far stronger. It can range from over 3,000 to over 4,000 joules, which is actually stronger than gorilla punches from a pure energy output standpoint, as crazy as that sounds. So while yes, one guy randomly kicking a gorilla would probably do nothing, several dozen people all kicking at a gorilla's head while he's already pinned down would eventually take him out. So yes, 100 humans could be a gorilla. If gorillas were truly a threat to literally 100 humans at a time, there would be far more stories of gorillas actually, you know, killing humans, while we have stories like this for elephants or bears. So bottom line is this: humans most likely win, but you don't want to be at the front of the crowd when you're staring down a silverback. If you made it this far,
Damn.
thank you.
I didn't take the fatigue aspect in it to account. Yeah, with the fatigue, like, yeah, the fatigue will make the gorilla. It will hinder the gorilla's movements, make him he can't like release his strength because he's tired. I get it. So 100 humans could possibly get a gorilla. Could possibly. Yeah. Somebody gotta set that up, bro. Mr. Beast, do your thing. Set it up, man.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Get some volunteers, let them sign a waiver, go up against the gorilla. We gotta settle this once and for all, man. Get it poppin'. Let's go.
You talking my language, I can't help